Hey everybody, Silver here with another Halo Reach Commendation guide. This time we're doing Downshift, which is probably one of the worst. Well, it definitely is one of the worst commendations. Possibly the worst. Definitely the worst in matchmaking. For this one, you need to be a vehicle's driver while a passenger kills an enemy in multiplayer matchmaking. For this, you need a terrifying 20,000 to max out. So we're going to go into big team battle for this. The maps rather that you want to focus on are Spire, Hemorrhage, Boneyard, Graveyard, and Cragmire. Those are basically the best maps for this, especially Cragmire. Cragmire has 2 Gosshogs that spawn right in the beginning of the game on either side, and their respawn times are very quick. I believe they're 90 seconds. I could be wrong on that. It might be 2 minutes or something. But anyway, it's really fast, especially for how powerful Gosshogs are. They're definitely the best. Graveyard also has a Gosshog on it. But the thing about that Gosshog is it doesn't spawn until 2 minutes and 50 seconds into the match. So the problem with that even more is when you go to black screen because someone's lagging out or just quit, it resets the spawn timers for every map or for every weapon and vehicle on the map. So everything else spawns as if it was the beginning of the game, but the Gosshog doesn't spawn until 2 minutes and 50 seconds into the game. So it's going to reset the timer for that. Boneyard's good. You could see starting off here on red team, you could speed by the Scorpion before anyone gets in it. And then you can see over here is a much better, more open space to spawn kill everybody. The other side, there's a lot more stuff in the way. The corners and turns are tighter, so it's not as an easy place to spawn kill. So I just killed a bunch of people down here, so I'm going to go up to this garage area, which is their secondary spawn area basically, and there's a bunch of people up here. So this is basically what you do is you go between this garage area and their initial spawn point, and you basically just spawn kill them. Hemorrhage is good. You want to start off, you don't want to go to the other side of the map at first. You want to just kind of hang out in the middle until the vehicle battle has subsided. And even after most of the vehicles are dead, you still want to stick to your side or just the middle area for the most part. You don't want to go around their base because they'll just shoot you all at once and they'll take your shields down and health down pretty quickly. Unless, of course, the other team's terrible, and then by all means head over there. And you want to make sure you take out anybody going for the plasma launcher that isn't on your team. Spire, you want to get in the Falcon and rush as quickly as possible to take out the other Falcon and the Banshee if you have to. Unfortunately, one side has an advantage in regards to getting the Banshee, but the Falcon can take out the Banshee pretty easily. If you have to fight a Falcon and a Banshee at the same time, it may be a different story. Asphalt is alright as long as you stay on top. You want to go up on the top levels where only infantry can go and smaller vehicles, including the Hog, because frankly, there's a Wraith spawning every 10 seconds. So you want to stay up top where the Wraiths can't kill you, and also there's Revenants down there that could flip you and everything too, so you want to avoid that. Rasu's okay. One thing I like to do though is when I get in the Falcon right in the beginning, I like to go up over this way and wrap around the map over the top. And you can see it tells me to return to the battlefield, but pretty much no one expects you to come wrap around that way. And you can see I'm distracting the Scorpion right now, and he's getting blown up by our Scorpion, which is nice. And you can see I'm doing it again here. And this isn't in the beginning anymore, but it's just good to do in general because no one expects you to come around this way again. And there's a guy right there. Had no idea where I was. And then there's this Falcon. He thinks he's taken off. We have other ideas, though. There he goes. And there's some maps that you definitely don't want to pick ever, which are Mount Lam Lam, Paradiso, Utopia, Wayant. these maps suck. Mount Lamlam's just too small. Paradiso and Utopia are basically the same map. They're basically the worst map in the game. IMO. And Wayant just has way too many grenade launchers and rockets and sticky grenades to be effective. Now on to general tips. My first tip is play with a friend. Obviously, playing with a friend is much more enjoyable, and there's the added benefit of he'll probably get in the hog with you. A lot of times, you'll go an entire match, and not one single person will get in your hog to get you wheelman, so that's a problem, and it's very frustrating, and it takes a lot of time. Tip number 2 is, even though you may have a bunch of friends already, I advise you recruit your own personal army. I recruited my own personal army, and I thank them every day that I awake, because otherwise I would still be crying playing Halo Reach and driving everywhere. Basically, I just played by myself in a big team battle, and after a while I would find someone who's pretty good at gunning, and then I would notice they always wanted to get in the gunner seat, which is kind of rare. Most people don't like to do that. They don't like to be driven by other people. So you gotta latch onto those people and cherish them. So, after a few games, I noticed they were consistently getting my hog. Just send them a friend request. And then you play together, and you're both having a good time and racking up a ton of wheelmen and vehicle kills. Win-win. My next tip is to use a headset. Obviously, it's easier when you're communicating. You might see somebody that you want to tell your gunner where he is so you could shoot and kill him, obviously. I did this when playing with friends, but I didn't when I was playing with my recruits. The reason I didn't do that was because my headset is a piece of crap, so I didn't want to annoy the hell out of new people I had just met online, so I have no problem annoying the hell out of the friends I've known for a long time, but don't want to drive off the new people. And going back, when you're recruiting your own personal army of people who are consistently good and consistently want to get in the hog with you, it's good to have a bunch of them, because there's this thing we live on called Earth, and it spins around, and you're going to be playing all hours of the day if you want to get this commendation. So it's good to have people in different time zones. I had people all across the U.S. where I'm from, and I had people in Europe and Australia. It was ridiculous. So anyway, going on to some general hog driving tips. The front of the hog is weaker than the back or the sides, so you don't want to get shot in the hood. So if you have to choose a place to get shot from, you don't want to get shot in the front of the car. You generally want, especially if you're in a hog battle, if another hog's fighting you, you want your rear end to be facing that hog. You might be concerned about your gunner dying, but don't worry about him, because you're going to take most of the damage, actually. Any damage that is inflicted upon the hog is inflicted upon the driver, and the gunner is absolutely fine. The gunner only takes damage when he's hit directly, and he's pretty well protected, actually, back there, if he's facing where the fire is coming from. Only his head's exposed, really. The second thing is the power sliding / e-braking. Those are two different things. There's two different buttons to do each one, obviously. One's power slide, one's e-brake. And you'll want to figure out which one's which. I can't tell you, because you might have a different control scheme than mine. But power slide is for your taking turns at speed. It'll give you more of a swooping motion, and you'll go around the turn quicker. Yeah, it's basically just drifting. And the e-brake is for when you really need to stop. And also, I tap the e-brake ever so slightly when I'm about to go over a huge jump, which makes me not jump as high into the air and as far, which gives me more control, because obviously if I'm in the air, I have no control over where I'm moving. So I especially do that on Hemorrhage. In the middle, there's that giant ridge, basically. So I try to stay in control as much as I can. Another item is don't drive down narrow pathways or hallways for no reason. It's dumb. It makes you extremely vulnerable to people on foot. They can just throw a grenade at you and flip you or stick you. So you want to avoid that when you can. Most notably, a good example is on Hemorrhage. You don't want to drive up onto the cliffs for any reason, especially because at either end of the cliffs, at each base, that's where the plasma grenades spawn. The only plasma grenades on the map spawn there, so you can pretty much guarantee that if people are up there, they have those plasma grenades, and if you drive up there, you're going to get stuck pretty easily. And you want to avoid any areas that have a plasma pistol or a power weapon in general, unless you know that those items are not there at the moment or being wielded. Another item is you want to keep moving at all times. Obviously, you're harder to hit when you're moving. If you just sit there and wait for your buddy to shoot the guy that you're trying to kill, you're an easy target for everybody else on the map, and even the guy you're shooting at. While you're doing this, you still want to give your gunner a good angle. So you'll notice a lot of times that when there's somebody out in the open that we're shooting at, I'll stop, but then I'll back up, because when I'm backing up, I'm still moving, which gives me more mobility. It makes us harder to shoot, but it still gives the gunner a really good angle, because if you're circling around him, the gunner keeps having to adjust his aim, but while you're backing straight up, the gunner could just keep his reticle right where it is. If you're boarded and you're in a hog especially, I advise holding X right before you get kicked out. You'll notice that when you get kicked out of the hog especially, it'll say press X or whatever button for your control scheme to board a split second right after you get kicked out. So if you just hold X or whatever button you need to hold, you actually reboard a lot of the times. And again, that's especially true for the hog, not necessarily other vehicles. If you're coming at a hog from the passenger side, so you need to go around the Warthog to get into the driver's side, I advise jumping over it and into the driver's seat instead of going around it. It just makes it a little bit quicker, and obviously the quicker you get in and start moving, the less likely it is you'll get shot and killed or sniped or stuck or whatever. Another thing is to know the sounds of all the weapons in the game, which you'll just develop over time. This is especially true for the plasma launcher, because obviously that's a anti-vehicle weapon, and you're going to be in a vehicle, so you're going to have a bad day if someone has that on the map. So if you hear that and it's not your team, or you don't know if it's your team or not, you definitely want to find a hiding spot until you figure out where that's coming from. Another thing is, if your hog is weak, you'll want to obviously keep using it as long as you can. But if you come across a fresh hog, just switch it out. Also, if you have time, just throw a quick grenade at your super weak hog that you just got out of and blow it up. That allows that damaged hog to spawn more quickly as a fresh hog. You have the option of switching out to that new hog if you need to. Also, don't go for any splatters, even though they can be tempting at sometimes. They could have armor lock, in which case you would get blown up, or stalled at least, and like you see here. And also, even if they don't have armor lock, they could more easily stick you if you're driving straight at them, or shoot you with a rocket or whatever they have. Also, you could trick them into going to armor lock by acting like you're going to splatter them, and that fakes them out, and then that wastes their armor lock, so when they come out, they're sitting ducks, like right here. Also, know where the health packs are. This is a good spot if there's nobody around. There's that health pack right on the wall there, which I grab often. Also, a good spot is the health pack at your base in Hemorrhage. That's a good one to pick up. There's usually not anybody around there to kill you while you're getting that. Also, generally, you don't want to get too close to anybody in case they have rockets or plasma grenades, especially, like I said before, if you're near a spawn point for any of those. Also, if you see anybody and they don't have a mic or something, you'll want to honk your horn to indicate that you see somebody in front of you. Sometimes that works. Sometimes you got a dumbass on your back and they don't know what honking the horn means, but it's worth a shot. Spawn killing, like I mentioned before, you could do that on any map. Hemorrhage is a great one to do that on. It's good to know the spawn points and how they work. So definitely take note of that when you're playing. Some tips for the Falcon are, if you're picking somebody up and you're waiting for them to get in, don't just sit there on the ground. You'll want to hover, and you could lock in your altitude once you're off the ground a little bit. And they could get in just as easily, but you'll take off much more quickly with your propellers already going and everything. So that's just something to do to avoid dying. Also, if you're in a battle with another Falcon or Banshee, you'll want to try to be above that enemy aircraft. It's much easier to attack from above than below. The angles aren't that great for looking up when you're in the Falcon gunner seats. And lastly, for the Falcon, if you're weak on the Spire, you could dive down below this cliff here, like you see. And most people can't get you from here unless they're on top of the Spire or in an aerial vehicle of their own and they're above you. So this is a good spot to recharge your shields. So I think that's all she wrote, boys and girls. There's a ton of stuff I picked up on on this odyssey of 20,000 wheelmen, which is ridiculous. I'm sure there's a bunch I forgot to mention here. I'm sure there's a bunch of tips you guys might have that I had not come across or hadn't thought of before. Feel free to leave them in the comments. I would definitely be interested in hearing what you guys have picked up on. If you thought this was helpful, I hope it was. I've been ranting for a while now. Click like and subscribe, and I got a bunch more videos coming out, especially with the Master Chief Collection coming out now in less than a month. And now Halo not First Strike, that's a book. Halo Spartan Strike has been announced for December, so I'm going to be busy making videos for a hella fortnight. Lastly, I'd like to take a second to thank everyone listed here for helping me out with this wheelman project I've been on. It was a tough road, but they made it a little smoother with each wheelman they got me, and they got me a bunch. They got me most of them, probably, actually. Special shout out to Ninja Monster, Lucas, Cartop Burrito, Milk Truck, and Sawblob. They really contributed a lot. And I guess these guys too. They got me a huge chunk when I first started playing. Shadow Chief, Dapper Tulip, and the Swiss Guard. So thanks to everybody, guys. Really appreciate it.